All right, so I'm back. Go at it again for another couple of hours. It's freezing downstairs though. We've been dropping into the 20s these last couple of days. It's only mid 30s now, but I didn't have the heater on, so it's getting cold. Anyway, last time on the great adventures of getting a football game made, I discussed the futures, the plans, what I wanted to do with this game. But also, I tried to knock out a couple of last minute bugs and quirks, and I was able to get those knocked out and redeployed, and hopefully we can get our test environment to fully function in the same way that you can see my local environments functioning. So let's see how this goes. Fingers crossed. So I got to launch Docker locally. So best way to do that is get myself to an environment where I can do that at. I guess this will work. Go here and get bash. Now, the way you launch a Docker container is pretty simple, really. As long as you've got it made, you just have to be able to call it with the right parameters for the image that you can do. So I like this Docker hub, which is where I had my GitHub is deploying my Docker container for test. So if I go to the hub, this is the Docker cloud, and I'm using the free resources that they provide. So basically, when I check into GitHub, GitHub will redeploy whatever I've checked in to the Docker hub. It's basically whatever branch I'm checking in, and that'll just go to the Docker hub. And when you go to the Docker hub, you'll see your images, assuming that they've been all created successfully and that the action succeeded. You'll see the images there. So you can see here I have my images that I ran a few hours ago before I left. What you need when you build the GitHub flow, that's this guy up here. I got a deploy test environment one. This is the one I've been working with to get going. The production one will be very similar, except it's going to have an extra step, I think, where it's going to actually move some of that stuff to my dev environment or prod environment. But you do need this. This is like a key element. This is the unique piece of every image. So we're going to go to that. And then now if I go to my design here, I can go down to my Docker. So you can see here I have a bunch of Docker commands that I'm using. And I basically just replaced this little tidbit. And I'll just put it in as text. And then you take these guys. Now, I already have my username defined. As long as your environment is up, this should be, you don't really need to do it. If you close your browser or you close your environment, I've noticed it goes away. So keep that in mind. You'll have to reset it. Docker username, and now I'm just setting the tag. And now all I need is the tag, which is the last part of each of these. So you can see that each one of my tags are set up here. Game plan dash test dash. That's the part that's coming from the individual services being ran. But you don't need that because it'll automatically attach this to it. So you just do that. And then you just need one last command. Once you set that, assuming you've got all your other files set up correctly, you can take this file. Now, if you're not using environment variables that need to be set, you don't need to do this. But I am doing this because environment variables are set, and they're not, for some reason, they're not getting set up correctly. You can theoretically set up some of the environment variables or even where the environment folder file is supposed to be. That's what this guy is supposed to be doing, right? Oh, it's the wrong application. I have this. So you can see it says this is where the environment variable is supposed to be, pfmo gms. It's not working. So it's obviously got a little bit of working, but if I actually just tell it where it is during the build of the compose, Docker compose, it will find it and start building it. So it pulled it, took those files. Really all it's looking for when it goes and gets the env is like in this case it's just looking for the database name and the database password. This is my prod one, which is not actually the one being used. It's this one I'm using. And this one, you can see, has secrets being put that were built with GitHub. You can see there's no usable information in any of this. It's just a bunch of secrets that are set up in GitHub, and it fills them up. Other than that, there's nothing here. So it's actually doing the same thing where it's passing in the environment where that end file is going to be, and it runs. And then after it runs, it'll build up all these playbook. It'll build up all my things, my playbook, my front end, my game plan, the master gRPC gateway. Once they're all built and pulled, it'll start them all. This is just pulling the images right off of my GitHub here, or a Docker hub. And you can pull them individually if you want. You can see I have multiples. I recently added the test suffix to my name, so that when I have prod images in here, they'll also, I can tell them apart. Interestingly enough, I went to go delete a bunch of these images, and Docker said, this won't save any space. If you want to get rid of them individually. It's like, really? It won't do anything? So, okay, any minute now. Now, once this is done building, it's going to go ahead and kick me over to, well, it won't kick me over, but I'll have to go over. But once this is done, my front end application is way bigger than all of my other services. Now, eventually my other services are probably going to be just as big, but right now the front end is bigger. Well, individually they won't be that big, but they'll take just as long as a whole, because some of them, like Game Plan's got a lot of stuff coming in the next few weeks. So does Playbook. They're both going to have a lot of data and a lot of part to send around. The simulation's going to have a lot. In fact, the simulation's going to be interesting because I don't know how that. I haven't fully gronked how that's going to work. It's kind of got a back and forth where it constantly sends information back and gets new information. The fun of waiting. Alexa, set desk lamp to warm white. Let's get a little bit more light in here. It's dark. The fun of waiting. This is why when people do streaming, it's a little bit more tedious because you got a lot more chit chat going on. If you're just trying to learn something, like I'm showing you here, it's actually, it's better to watch a video, which I will eventually have to go back through and try to cut some of this down into an actual video. I don't typically, now as a rule, if you're watching this for the first time, I'm not teaching anything. I mean, you could probably learn something along with me if you come along and watch me build this thing. But as I learn things, little key things, I might do a little demo of that particular item. But it's not going to be, you're just here to watch or chat or learn something. If you ask questions about the game, what am I going to do with it, feel free. I'm always up to help with that, provide that kind of information. But as far as teaching, I'm not a teacher. I mean, really, I don't mind showing off things I understand and know, but I don't want to. I don't know. I just feel like there's definitely other people out there who probably have it down more than me. I've seen some people who just cruise right through their code, and it's like there's and all you hear is keys flapping away, and they're zapping stuff out there, and they've got it down to an art. And I'm like, okay, wow, good job, dude. I don't know how they do it. I can't bounce around writing code like that, which probably makes me not that's probably why nobody wants to to give me a chance to prove that I can do work. They all want that. They all want that YouTube expert guy who can type, 150 words a minute, and he's just piling out code, man. Just somebody erase with AI. You type AI, say, right, 1, 2, 3. Here's the question. AI writes it all out, and this guy's done. He's like, it's like what's his name? The John Henry, the guy who beat the train with his hammer, laying down track. I think it was, right. He died at the end, but so, but he won. That's the important thing, right? I think he kind of lost sight of the goal there. It's like, oh, good, you proved that you could beat it once, and then you died, and probably not anybody else. Might as well just let the machine have done the job in the first place. It's like, what exactly was the point of John Henry's little task there? Certainly wasn't to put the machine out of business. The machine, once it lost to you, there was no one left. might as well just have let it win. All right, let's go see let's go see if this thing is still running. Here's one of the things I've noticed with my last few attempts. So it's still starting, but my last few attempts at this have had it shut down on me because there was errors that couldn't connect to the database. So I'm hoping. Where did my hello? Ah, did they all die again? They all died again. Look at that. What is their problem now? AMG auth has to run. Now it's using Scram 256? Wait a minute, I wasn't even using that one before. It was using SHA 1 or something like that, or 16 or something. Okay, so we still have a problem. But that's basically it. You come in here to the container, and if it's working, you can go here. And if all these little guys should all have, squares saying that you can stop them. But of course, the only two that ran are MongoDB and Gateway, because they don't have to talk to MongoDB. MongoDB is the database, so it's not calling it, and Gateway doesn't call the database. It calls the services, but the services are gone, and so that's useless. But ultimately here, if everything is started, at that point, I can just run the front end. I can just click on here and go, but what's happening here is front end is probably unable to talk to the back end. Cannot find production build in the .NET directory. I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm pretty sure I built that before I deployed it. Cannot find production build in the .NET directory. Try building your app with next build before. Is it not like building this app? Supposed to build it. Oh, you know what? I don't think that's, I didn't do a Docker build. And it could be that I have to do a Docker build. I don't know why, but no. Test. Oh, I did it again. Dang it. Can I stop that, please? Apparently, I need to do the same thing. I had solved part of this, but MongoDB, yeah, it's got the same problem. I don't understand really why this is a problem, but there's definitely something wonky going on here. There. Basically, all I did there was try to give it the .env location so that it could build. The other option is you can actually set those values like they did with the tag. You can do this guy. Basically, you're doing this echo thing and it sets the values, and then when you go run it, it'll just grab them from that value. But I'd rather just tell it where to get them from. The .env file. So you don't have to set them live. This takes a while. Another long wait. So my apologies there. So while this runs, let's talk. But let's see what we've got going for the build here. So one of the things I've kind of, come on. I don't know. I'm working on my Surface 4 still, and it's been kind of flaky. Surface 4, that is 7 versions old, so it was. I mean, it's still running pretty decent for what it was, but it's getting pretty long in the tooth. But it's not as old as my desktop that I've been using, so there's that. Maybe. Do I already have it open? Why is it? There it is. Okay, so this has my current status of things. I knocked off tests last week for this Docker thing. I ran without my having to do this. I could be wrong. But you basically, after every pull of an image, you have to do the build. Now, you don't have to do it every time you run it. You just have to do it the first time you pull it. So it's a little bit of a slog. I'm not sure why you have to build it, or why. I mean, maybe I don't even have to build it. I don't know. I say that because I'm not sure why it's. It's quite possible you don't have to build it, because it should have been built when it was deployed to the images, and then all I'm doing is downloading them and running them. It shouldn't be an issue. So what I could basically be doing right here is just running them locally for my own edification, and it's not making any purpose at all. The reason you would build them like this is like if you're running the Docker locally, like if I had a dev environment that I just wanted to run it against. And I do have a dev one, and that's essentially what this would be. I would just run it against my dev one and run this exactly the same way. And it would run locally, and then I could just load it and kick it off. But I don't know that this is actually doing anything as far as going to help my case, except giving me a build. I should probably, while we're doing this, let's go ahead and let AI have a shot at telling me what was going on. Maybe it'll tell me, oh yeah, no, that's not your problem. I mean, I may need to fix something in code, but it's not going to say, it's not going to tell me that that's what the problem is. I bet it'll say I need to go fix something else. that is occurring when I attempt to start my Docker images that I downloaded from the Docker Hub. Key element when you're working with Copilot and you say workspace, it can see all of your files, but it frequently won't. I mean, it won't look unless you specifically tell it, what do I need to fix? Because it'll do something like,